Hello, friends, from our studio at Tech Town. This is your Daily Detroit for Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. I am Jer Stays, and joining me at the table is none other than the indefatigable Fletcher Sharpe. How are you?
I'm all right. It's starting to warm up, so it's great, but also, you gotta stay hydrated, make sure you don't pass out in the sun.
You literally have 2 bottles sitting here at the podcast table. Is it sports season?
It's that, plus, you're out with your pets doing stuff, and I've also passed out in the sun before, so I don't want to repeat that again.
All right. You're playing, what, Old Redford this year?
Yeah, there's that. There's the Detroit Neighborhood Softball League if you want to come out to Belle Isle and watch some people whose primes are probably very far past, but are having a nice, fun time. Just there's stuff to do always in the summer, and just make sure, for myself, but also for people listening, make sure you have some liquid in you, because passing out in the sun is not a fun experience.
I need one of those shirts. It's like pass my time, but having a good time. So, all right. We got a lot to talk about today, sports and a little bit of food news, because, sir, you and I are both excited about this. Dutch Girl Donuts over on Woodward, just south of 7 Mile, is back. Lines were crazy for this thing, Fletcher Sharpe.
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, I lost a few special places to me. One of them on the east side, JW's Alabama style chicken, fish, and ribs. They keep teasing that it's going to come back right off of Mac, and it doesn't. And it's like, they're open, they're closed. And I was kind of sad, but I'm like, I still have something. I still have Dutch Girls. And then they're like, hey, we can't find people to work, we're going to close down. And then I was just sad. It was just whatever. In a way, it was a blessing a little bit, because it pulled me kind of towards Yellow Light, which is also a great donut, but a different type of donut.
Such a different donut.
But Dutch Girl announced that they would be coming back, and they came back this weekend. And I was going to go down there and be like, yeah, I'll get some donuts. I'll wait a little bit. And then I drove by and I saw the line and was like, I'm going to ask someone who's gone. And it turns out I actually saw a few people in line who I recognized, so I used my journalistic instincts to talk to them.
I love journalistic instincts for these purposes.
But yeah, they were like, the donuts were fresh. The line, one of them was in line for at least 2 hours. I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm waiting to pounce. I'm looking for that weird morning or whatever, just to be there early. It's hard to hold myself back, because there's part of me that wanted to be in that line, but this Saturday I had 50 things to do. So
it's like the Popeyes chicken sandwich craze, where it's like, I want one of those, but I'm not going to park on the street 3 businesses down to then inch forward for the next 3 hours to get 1 or 2. I will wait until the line is short enough that's manageable for me to go in there. Because, while I do love all of Detroit, I do love the east and west side equally, I don't want to stand right off of Woodward for 2.5, 3 hours no, it's just not something I want to do.
I feel like you needed a sun umbrella, maybe a mister. If I was going to go out there, I'd bring a chair and just kind of go along, if you will, make a whole experience out of it.
I'd rather do people do for Black Friday, and just get a tent, and just the night before, when I know they're going to be there, tent out in the front and say, hey, I'm here first. So when I get in there, I get my donuts, maybe even get a nice little seat inside your tent before you pack up and leave, which will then just be weird, because now you have a line of people watching you break it down. But the stuff's great. I'm glad that it's back, not just because the donuts are good, but because I like to see original Detroit institutions do well. And to see them back, kind of it won't take you back to the mid 2000s, early 2010s, but it can make you feel like it a little bit. And that, to me, makes me smile a little bit.
For sure. And let me just share with people the big difference between Yellow Light and Dutch Girl, and then a different kinds of donut shops. So Yellow Light's a cake donut shop, whereas Dutch Girl is a yeast donut shop. Another big yeast donut shop is Donut Cutter over in Berkeley. So I would love to know what people think. Are you team yeast donut or team cake donut? dailydetroit@gmail.com. And if you did make it out there, let me know. I plan on going this week. I can't wait. I'm not going to do too many. I'm not going to overdo it, but I have to dip my beak into a donut. All right, Fletcher Sharpe, as a Pistons fan, I am upset. I feel like we have been wronged. I know that we mathematically have not been wronged. I know that a 52% chance of having a top 4 pick is not a guarantee in this lottery system. But man, 5th pick, I'm beside myself with this stuff with the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, as everyone knows, as a Detroit sports person, I'm not someone who's like, we were wrong by the refs. We didn't do whatever. We didn't get the what. No, I'm very much like, if it's on the field, you got to settle it. But off the field stuff, very different. The Pistons won 31 games the past 2 years, 30 plus games, and that's it. You're telling me this team gets to pick fifth back to back? Like, come on.
You're telling me the Atlanta Hawks get to go in front of us?
The Atlanta Hawks were in a play-in game. Like, they officially made the cusp of the playoffs. It's one thing if they traded for a pick and did something like that, but like, come on, you can't do that. And to make matters worse, the person they have the Pistons selecting right now, mock in fifth, they keep the pick, Matas Buzelis. I call him the Lithuanian Lightning because that's how quick he'll be in and out of the league. And I don't.
Okay. So you're not happy on this draft?
No, I mean, it's not going to be a super strong draft as is already, but like, for the not super great ones, either you want to go near towards the back and get like a super steal, or you want to go towards the front and get the best amount of talent you can. And again, people are upset. Pistons are going fifth for the third year in a row. I understand that to a degree it falls on the Pistons for not drafting the right players, which is a very fair statement to make. Like, of course you want to be number one overall, but the Cavaliers selected Anthony Bennett with the number one overall pick, and I think he lasted like 19 games. So obviously it falls on scouting, it falls on whatever, but like, when you have the worst record in team history, the longest losing streak in NBA history, and just generally have play that does not inspire as much, even with the team being youthful, in the fifth year of a rebuild, you expect like, all right, they were bad. First pick me, please. I was talking to a friend, and I was like, they're going to go fourth. They're going to go fourth. I'm calling it now for the draft selection even starts. They're going fourth. And he's like, watch. I bet you it's going to be worse than that. And I was like, they can't go fifth. Like, they can't go fifth again. Like, that's not going to happen. That's not a thing, whatever. And then I got up to go to the bathroom, went to go let my dog out, and I came back to his text like, are you blanking kidding me? And I looked and was like, oh no, like this.
So I'll be honest, I'm really frustrated with some of Detroit sports teams. I saw a meme, I don't remember all the numbers on it, but the thousands and thousands of days since we've had a playoff victory for the Red Wings, for the Pistons, for the Tigers. And I think Detroit sports fans deserve better. I think we should ask for better and push for better. And with the Pistons, I mean, at what point do you just go, this rebuild isn't working? And I'll be honest, I'm starting to feel that way about the Red Wings too, if they do not get into the playoffs. My patience worn thin across the board because I think we are far too patient with these owners. And I think like at some point, like you got to do something with this. Like if next year isn't a market improvement, you got to start thinking about some real serious changes.
I mean, with the Pistons, it's hard, in my opinion, a little bit, but I am also starting to like say, hey, come on, guys. Well, the Pistons, it's kind of hard because their number one overall draft pick they got in the past 5 years, only one, Cade Cunningham, has been on and off injured, which has been affected the rest of the team being built around him. Some of the players they've drafted play well with certain players they have and don't play well with other players they have, and you need to try to figure out who does what well. Certain players start off really great, and then they kind of feel like carbon copies of other players. I love Jalen Duren, but like watching a clip of some of his defensive rotations reminds me a lot of Andre Drummond, and I loved Andre Drummond until I realized he really couldn't defend. He was great at blocking shots when people weren't there. He was great at rebounding, but he was a liability offensively. And Jalen Duren is young. He has time to develop. But like if he does not change his ways, that's Andre Drummond 2.0, and that would really hurt my soul. As long as he doesn't start rapping like Andre Drummond, then I think we have a chance for that not to happen. They need someone who can be kind of like a glue guy. And I know that's kind of hard to take at a pick that high, but someone who is kind of like Asar Thompson, but like can shoot. And Asar can develop into a shooter. He's more of a playmaking type, small forward who can maybe play a little bit of the small four, but just him not being able to shoot like wrecks so many things. And also him having a coach like Monty Williams, who with his contract, you can't really just pull the ripcord on him right now unless you want to eat a lot of money. You need a player who can fit in there. And I know they have Matas Buzelis, who I've seen some of his highlights, kid is talented. I'll give him that. But just watching him struggle at times against like some G League teams, which are made up of some journeymen, some players trying to make their way in, but watching him struggle in some of those chances where they're literally feeding him the ball makes me worried that like when he's not the main man, he's going to struggle a bit more. Some of those players pick it up a bit, but some players need the ball to be great, and he looks like one that needs the ball to be great. So they need someone who can slot in and help Cade, and maybe when Cade's out, kind of help pace the offense with Jaden Ivey and allow Jaden to do what he needs to do. So maybe I'm thinking a bigger guard who's maybe a bit more of a playmaker, has like a decent jump shot. Doesn't need to be Steph Curry, but like maybe something where they have to respect it. I don't think you get that with the 5th pick. Could be wrong. There have been many of other 5th picks in the NBA history who've been great.
I don't know. I mean, like, it's a different sport, obviously, but when you watch Brad Holmes cook, he's not as concerned about that kind of stuff. He's thinking in more of a strategic sense, and I just don't feel like the Pistons have made good picks lately.
I mean, you can do that with football because, again, it's 11 people on the field each time. The rosters are bigger. You can afford to just say, I want the most talented guy, and we can make it work. Whereas basketball, 5 guys on the court, 13 on the roster total, maybe 16 if you want to stretch it a bit. You can't really say I want the best guy, because if you get the best guy 5 years in a row and it's 5 shooting guards, you now have no one to rebound the ball. Or 5 centers, you now have no one to bring the ball up the court. So you have to kind of do with the best guy, but also do something positional to kind of help the team. And honestly, I hate to say this because it makes you feel like I'm doing a U-turn. I would feel a lot better with the 5th pick if it was someone like Brad Holmes drafting and not someone like who they have right now, because some of these picks look great on paper and then you watch them together and it's like these pieces don't fit. Like these pieces should fit and they're not fitting, and there's no adjustment made to fit them together. So I don't know what the next step is, but hopefully it's one forward and not like 30 backwards.
Now, there is some good news on the playoff front. If you dig a little deeper, you got to go to the Michigan Panthers. They won over the weekend against the DC Defenders, and the Houston Roughnecks lost to San Antonio, the Brahmas, which shows you that The Rock is involved in this league because it's the Brahmas. Anyway, that loss was on Sunday. So next up is the USFL Conference Championship playoff game. There's some good storylines here. There's some good stuff with the Jake Bates and everything else. So I see people excited about this. I was skeptical at first because, it's the Panthers and it's not the NFL. But this town, I'm telling you, the more and more I do this, the more and more I know this town is football crazy.
Realistically, they have a chance to be the number 1 overall seed. Probably won't, as Skip Holtz has his team, Arlington, like...
Now, is that related to Lou Holtz?
Yes, that is his son. They're moving at a rate that's like insane. They have not lost a game or even like been close to losing a game in like the past 3 years. They've won the USFL championship twice. So now they got merged in and figured it'd be a little bit harder, and it's not for them. They dismantled the Panthers when they played earlier in the year, so that would be kind of a scary matchup if that occurs. But the Panthers are rolling now, and it's great. Early on, they kind of had some struggles in the offense. They had E.J. Perry starting. And like while E.J. Perry is a good football player as a whole, E.J. Perry was not getting it done at quarterback. He was missing very easy routes. I think if he's trying to showcase his skills as like just a ball player, then like great. If he's trying to showcase his skills as a quarterback at the NFL level, good luck to you. But the Panthers have made a change. I know over the last few games they put Danny Etling in there, and Danny Etling's been throwing the ball around. They had a different quarterback in this time, and the offense looks cohesive. Yeah, were they out there throwing for 400 yards? No. But were they getting the ball to the right players at the right time, letting the running backs do what they need to do? Matthew Colburn went for 132 yards. Yes, and that's how you win games. And while I know that these players want to develop to get better and maybe get a chance to play at the next level, all the fans really want is for you to go out there, try to win games and like look like a cohesive team. And this year's Panthers from last year's Panthers is night and day. I'm glad for them. The rest of the season isn't going to be super tough, but I will say that playoff game is going to be very, very, very hard.
Yeah, but it's fun to watch, It's fun to watch. All right, now I was out at Keyworth for a match between 2 really tired clubs. Both Engineer Randy and you had other things going on, so I went and checked out Phoenix Rising and City fight to a 1-1 draw, which is kind of the best result for both sides. Now, if you didn't know, both teams earlier in the week have played long matches. Norris Howard and I talked about that Open Cup playoff win against the Houston Dynamo that a lot of people were excited about. Phoenix had their own match. It was a slog. This was not pretty to watch. We both came out with 1 point, so I guess that's the best we can do. City sits in third place in the Eastern Conference of the USL Championship, heading up the middle bunch of teams, while Charleston and Louisville are starting to pull off in their own space at 1 and 2 as the season kind of evolves on. Fletcher, any quick thoughts about the win over the Dynamo or this match?
The Dynamo win was really more of a, technically it was a draw, soccer terms. They advanced on penalties, or they would have lost on penalties. But even taking a Major League Soccer team to a draw, it is impressive. Doing it in their own stadium in like super hot weather when like a third of your roster is cramping up. Everyone contributed. Great effort. My player of the game was Ben Morris, because even though he missed his penalty kick, he came in late for Matt Sheldon. He normally plays as like kind of a wide attacking mid. This game, he spent more time playing more of a defensive winger type. Seeing him defend in like the 110th minute was like, oh no, this is going to end poorly. But he held his own multiple times, and like I give him credit for that, because people have been on him hard because of last year, and he was supposed to be the guy coming in to score and just didn't. So to see him out there just doing whatever he can to help his team win, like that's great. As with the Rising, they should have won the game.
I could see that. I can see that.
Their main problem all year has been set piece defending. Against the Dynamo, they gave up a goal off a corner kick. Against the Rising, they gave up a goal off a corner kick. You can't keep leaving people unmarked to like get a shot towards the net. And while Nate did see this ball coming against the Rising, it was kicked directly at him. It was hit with such spin that instead of him thinking it was going to hit him in the stomach, it dipped really late, and unfortunately he didn't get underneath it.
You know, that's kind of a counterpoint to a lot of people and their feelings on Detroit City's defense, but I agree with you. There is a weakness on set pieces. What do they need to do to address that?
Practice it better. They need to, if they're doing like zone marking kind of in sports where they have someone stand at the post and wait and someone else stand at the post and wait, stop zone marking. Go to man marking. Make sure you get hands on someone. Don't grab and pull them down for a penalty, but like make sure you are where someone is. Don't let people run freely towards the corners of your net. And that's really it. It's basic things. I know that they know that too, because you can see after the goal is scored, they all have a look of like, oh my God, again. It's not like they're frustrated, like what's happening here? It's like, we did that again. They have an expert chance to move in the U.S. Open Cup next. They play Indy 11 in the next round, which is
a winnable game.
It's a conference opponent, but also an opponent they've beat before. They have a chance to maybe get into the quarters or even the semis, which would be a big step going forward.
For the uninitiated, let's say they do really well in the Open Cup. What could this mean?
So the best team in each division, excluding MLS, whether it's Championship, League One / NISA, League Two / MPSL / whatever smaller leagues there are, the winner, the furthest team that advances from the division gets $25,000, which isn't necessarily a lot, but for some of those lower division teams, it can do a lot. If, say, DCFC were to win the U.S. Open Cup, it would give them $300,000.
Whoa, wait, what?
$300,000 goes to the winner. The runner-up gets $100,000, but $300,000 and a berth in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is kind of like, CONCACAF is the North American Federation, Central American and Caribbean. But like the Champions Cup is kind of like the Champions League, watching, if you're familiar, watching European soccer, where they take all the best teams from the continent and play in one tournament to see who is the best team from that continent. And then if you win that, you go to the FIFA Club World Cup, where you play against everyone across the world. So it would be a big step for that if they were to do that. This is the year to do it. The MLS teams are a lot less than they were before, because obviously they all pulled out, unfortunately.
Or most of them did.
Most of them did, or in some sent reserve sides in. Nashville didn't participate at all. So this would be the opportune time to do it, because you're doing it against teams that are maybe closer to your standard in terms of who they have on their roster, things of the sort. So if they can stomach through it, play through it, and get down there, it'd be a great thing to have. Just to say, just one, for the fiscal part of it, but number two, because like your club now will be not just a Midwest staple, not just like a regional staple, but like legitimately will be mentioned in like Honduras and Guatemala and in Haiti and other countries where like their teams will come here to play or will go there to play. And like, yeah, that's a very big thing to have. And again, fiscally, you can now sign more players with that money, or you can
even runner up, even $100,000 be awesome.
Yeah, or upgrade something. So like that's if they get to the final. The part that makes it hard is it's running concurrent with the league. So like you have to try to do your best to keep your wits about you. Make sure you're not too tired. I noticed that Ryan Williams, who had not played much of the year, played against Houston, is not playing now, probably because some players have some tired legs. So, yeah, it's exciting times in Hamtramck.
All right, Fletcher Sharpe, so good to talk with you, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you've got feedback, dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. Leave us a voicemail. With that, I am Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.